AITA for selling my husband's Xbox to buy back the antique tea set that he sold without consent? Me F33 and my husband AM31 have been struggling with money lately. I work at a hair salon while he works at a gas station. Basically have minimum wages that barely pay rent and other expenses. We do not have any savings, nor do we have the ability to save money. It's been like this for years. Recently I found out that the antique tea set that my grandmother gifted me was gone. My husband admitted selling it for $300 plus to be able to buy a gaming chair for his nephew who's recovering cancer patient. I didn't take it well. I told him this tea set was important to me and I wasn't willing to let it go that easily. Now if he was selling it to pay off debts or rent, then maybe, but a gaming chair? No. Not okay. He asked me allow him to explain and said that I don't use this tea set like ever, so it's just sitting in the cabinet. B. His nephew has gone through so much and wanted a gaming chair badly, and he promised to award him for defeating cancer. And C. He said he will be giving me money to buy a better modern tea set. But I refused to accept that it was gone and let go of it. I contacted the buyer and he told me I had to pay $450 to get it back, which was unfair, but since he was barely convinced to let me have it back, then I needed to come up with the money. I sold the only thing my husband had that was worth money, which was his Xbox. I got $400 and borrowed the $50 from my sister. I paid off the buyer and he brought back the tea set. My husband found out and went off asking how I could do this to him. I asked him to hear me out, then explained that I sold the Xbox since he was the one who gave away my antique tea set, so he was responsible for getting it back. He said he promised to save money for me to get a better set, but I insisted I wanted my grandmother's tea set and nothing else, even if it's worth less, because the sentimental value is worth a lot to me. He blew up calling me childish and that I should have sold his Xbox, the only thing keeping him entertained in these awful times. He started sulking ever since and kept reminding me that he was the one with the short end of the stick since I got my precious tea set back. The buyer earned $150, but he lost his Xbox forever. He's refusing to talk to me, calling me evil with zero consideration for how depressed and upset he is feeling. AITA for how I returned my antique tea set? NTA. Tell him to put the money he was going to use to buy a new tea set towards his replacement Xbox. NTA. He should have sold his Xbox in the first place if getting that chair was so important. It wasn't his to sell. NTA. He thinks his stuff is more valuable to him. Maybe he should realize things have consequences. NTA. Your husband sold a family heirloom with great sentimental value and stubbornly refuses to admit that he was in the wrong because he does not respect your property or your feelings. Worse, he had no intention of even trying to get it back even after you confronted him. Instead, trying to gaslight you into thinking you were overreacting. If you just sold the console to get back at him, I'd say you were wrong too. But you did it to get your property back, and I don't feel bad for him because it was his responsibility to get the tea set back and he refused. But you need to find somewhere else to store your valuables. Who knows what he'll sell off next? I was gonna say, 2 wrongs don't make a right. But then I read he did this to fulfill a promise he made to buy someone a gaming chair. He wrote a check. His ass couldn't cash. He should have sold his items to raise the money needed for the gaming chair. Selling your tea set was heartless. Saving up, which you state you can't do anyway, to buy you a modern one is pointless because the original set has sentimentality. I'm sure he is sulking, but he created this mess. It wouldn't be fair for you to be without an item of yours. NTA, but he's not gonna stop pouting for a long time. NTA. If he wanted his nephew to have the chair. Understandable. He should have sold his stuff or discussed with you how you could have both come up with it. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. NTA. Keep the tea set away where he can't get to it. NTA. But you should consider getting out of this situation. Like, now. Not only does your husband not respect your property, but he also doesn't seem to have much financial sense. He could buy a cheap gaming chair for less than $100. He didn't need to spend $300 plus on one. No matter the reason. A sizable number of Americans couldn't put their hands on $400 in an emergency. And your husband sounds like he's in that group. That kind of money is a rainy day fund. Especially when you're not making the kind of money to quickly recoup it. Your husband needs to get his financial priorities in order quickly. Or you're always going to be fighting this battle with him. NTA. Notice he sold something of yours, not his? That will happen again. You can't trust this man. NTA. Your husband is a major hypocrite. He gets to sell your tea set your grandma gave you and it's okay, but when you sell his Xbox to buy back your stolen property, it's a problem? That reeks of hypocrisy. NTA. If he wanted to buy the gaming chair for his nephew so badly, I wonder why he didn't think to sell his own valuables. He doesn't get to volunteer things that are important to you without even bothering to ask. He's just unhappy you've given him a taste of his own medicine. NTA. A. I don't use this tea set like ever, so it's just sitting in the cabinet. So what? B. His nephew has gone through so much and wanted a gaming chair badly. So what? And C. He said he will be giving me money to buy a better modern tea set. So what? NTA. He should have sold the Xbox in the first place to buy the gaming chair. But he didn't want to lose out on what was important to him. A tea set from your grandmother is basically irreplaceable. NTA. Why can't he just buy his Xbox back with the money he is planning to save up instead of buying another tea set? He could easily buy the exact same Xbox that has not sentimental value versus a tea set that was from a family member has that irreplaceable sentimental value. NTA. Ah yes. The very sentimental Xbox. Did his great-great-great-grandfather leave it to him after he died in the war? Tell him to save up for a new one. Something that you didn't have the luxury of doing when it came to your grandmother's antique tea set, which is one of a kind to you. You either had to get your old one back, or live without it forever. He doesn't need to do that with his Xbox. NTA. His priorities are wildly out of whack. NTA. He sold your things to pay for something. Why didn't he sell his things? Because he views his things as having more value. Because he thinks he has more value over you. NTA. Holy fucking shit, just get divorced. This is the worst gift of the Magi sequel ever. Too bad you couldn't hawk your spouse. NTA.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.